Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Game Week 7 League 2 score predictions versus Frank. Now, a little bit of context here. Frank is technically not a content creator or a celebrity, some sort of well-known person, and obviously sometimes when he's come on the channel you've criticised him quite a lot in the comments, but give him credit today because there was obviously meant to be a content creator coming on today. I'd had everything agreed and all that sort of stuff, and then they just stopped replying to my messages, unfollowed me, and have kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth. So I'm not really too sure what they're doing, but they said they were coming on. They had 2-3 days to send the clips. Nothing happened. I was messaging saying, you know, are you actually going to come on? And I just got ignored, and now all messages have been deleted and they've unfollowed me. So I'm not too sure what's going on there, but obviously it got to around 11 PM on Thursday, obviously yesterday by the time this video does come out, and I was kind of desperate looking for somebody to help me try and fulfill that spot. Frank has gladly stepped in, and big credit to him for doing that at around midnight when he's up very early for college in the morning. So big thank you to Frank for that. Show him a lot of love in the comments, because actually he is, from the clips I've seen, one of the best people we've had on so far. One of the clips did corrupt though, and we'll come on to that later on in today's video. But away from the negativity to more negativity, let's have a look at how me and Chal got on last week. Then I accumulated the 4 points, and Chal unfortunately only accumulated the 3 points, so he has technically picked up the least amount of points from a guest so far. Previously it was joint between Notts County Talk and Jill's in the Blood TV. Not a great week for either of us, but there was a fair few surprises in there. I was happy that I predicted Harrogate to beat Doncaster. I didn't think it would be as comfortable as what it was, and obviously not a great week for either of us, but I am now 6 points ahead of the guests, and I think we're level on game weeks now.
So Sam has asked me to come on his channel to predict game week 7 in Sky Bet League 2. Who else better than Mystic Mac to predict the score predictions and push Sam off his throne? I'm going to get every single one right this week, so let's dive in and see if we can get all of them correct.
As always, you get 3 points for a correct score and 1 point for a correct result. Let's start out then with the Saturday early kickoff between Accrington Stanley and Port Vale. Obviously Port Vale have had a really good start to the season. Accrington the complete opposite. Port Vale have been building recently under Darren Moore. Accrington have been woeful for the majority of this season. I can only see this ending in an away win. I'm going 2-0 to the Valiants. Let's see what that wasn't English. Let's see what Frank thinks.
The first game of game week 7 is Port Vale versus Accrington Stanley. Accrington have had a torrid start, which sees them sit second bottom right now. Only 3 teams have outscored Port Vale so far this season as they look to get back into League 1. I'm going to go with a pretty simple 3-1 win for Port Vale.
Next up then is the other earlier kickoff between Chesterfield FC and Cheltenham Town. The Spyrights have had, again, a positive start to the season. They sit in and around mid-table, but they are only 2 points off of the playoffs at this moment in time. Compared to Cheltenham, who are down and around the relegation places, they've lost 4 of their last 5 matches. I can only see this finishing in a home win. I'm going 3-0 to Paul Cook's side. Let's see what Frank thinks.
Next up is another early kickoff. Chesterfield against Cheltenham Town. Cheltenham obviously relegated from League 1 last year. Chesterfield arguably not had the start they wanted this season. 6 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. But their front three is undeniable. James Berry, Will Grigg and Dylan Markinde. I think they're going to rip Cheltenham apart. I'm going to go with a 4-1 win for Chesterfield.
Barrow AFC versus Newport County. Now Barrow have had a really good start to the season. They sit up in 3rd at this moment in time, just 1 point off of top of the table. They've picked up 10 points out of their last possible 12, so they're flying at this moment in time under Stephen Clements. Compared to Newport, to be fair to them, they've also had a pretty positive start to the season. Yes, they now have had back-to-back league defeats, which hasn't been ideal, but they're still 10th in the table. They've still got a 50% win rate in the league so far this season, but I can't see past Barrow at this moment in time, so I'm going 2-0 to the Bluebirds. Let's see what Frank thinks.
Next up is Barrow against Newport County. Stephen Clements nominated for Manager of the Month at Barrow. They've had a brilliant start. They sit 3rd currently in the table. They've only conceded 3 goals all season, one of the best defensive records in the league at the moment. Newport County not doing too well either. They've won 3 out of the 6 games and lost the other 3 as well. But I think Barrow are going to get another win on the board. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Barrow.
Bradford City versus AFC Wimbledon. Now obviously my team, the Bantams, we currently occupy that final playoff spot in 7th at this moment in time. 4 points off of top of the table. But Wimbledon, they're a few places above us, up in 5th. They've had an unbelievable start to the season. They've played a game less than the majority of their teams. They have won their first 4 of 5 matches, which is absolutely brilliant. They've won their last 3 in a row. They battered MK Dons as well in their derby derby last Saturday. They're going to come here on a massive high, really, and obviously we're coming off the back of a very frustrating away defeat. We've been pretty strong at home so far this season, but my reverse psychology has worked quite well up until this point, so I'm going to back the Wombles for a 1-0 win. Let's see what Frank thinks. Now, I say let's see what Frank thinks, but his Bradford City versus AFC Wimbledon clip is the one that has corrupted, and I'm not going to ask him to re-record that at 1 o'clock in the morning. So,
he basically said Bradford are coming off the back of a disappointing late loss at Walsall. Wimbledon will be full of confidence after a 3-0 victory over their rivals MK Dons at the weekend. A good midweek performance won't be enough for the win for Bradford, however, and he's going with a 2-2 draw.
Colchester United versus Tranmere Rovers. Two sides who have had similar starts to the season so far. They're sat in and around mid-table, maybe the lower part of mid-table. A lot of draws, and there's been a lot of goals in the Colchester games, but not many in the Tranmere Rovers matches. Just 7 goals in the Tranmere games, but 19 goals in the Colchester matches so far. Just 2 points separate the two sides, but Tranmere do also have a game in hand. Out of their first 5, they won 2 and drawn 2. Tranmere are on some decent form at the moment, despite their first league loss of the season at the hands of Gillingham. I think it'll be a pretty scrappy game, and not really much in it between both sides, so I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Let's see if Frank agrees.
Next up is Tranmere against Colchester. Both sides probably not the start they wanted this season, but Omari Patrick is firing on all cylinders at the moment for Tranmere Rovers, and you look at the defensive record of Colchester: 10 goals conceded, 9 goals scored. There's a clear problem in that Colchester United defence. Probably one of my favourites to be tipped to go down as well this season in League 2. I think Tranmere Rovers are going to get back to winning ways after a defeat last weekend. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Tranmere Rovers.
Crewe Alexandra versus Harrogate Town. Obviously Harrogate coming off the back of a brilliant win at home to Doncaster, but Harrogate are one of them sides where they'll beat Doncaster at home and then they'll go and lose to a team like Crewe, obviously with all due respect, because they've picked up 10 points out of their last possible 12, but Crewe is not the hardest of places to go, and I do think they will get the 3 points in this game. They're currently level on points with the team occupying that final playoff spot in at Bradford City, but their goal difference isn't amazing. They've only scored 4 goals so far this season. I see this one finishing in a home win. I'm going 2-1 to the Railway Men. Let's see what Frank thinks.
Next one is very hard to predict for me. Harrogate Town against Crewe Alexandra. Crewe have had a pretty good start. They sit just outside the playoffs. Harrogate Town in 16th, but they did in fact win on Sky Sports against table toppers then Doncaster Rovers. A brilliant first half performance from them. Harrogate are in a good position right now. And I think they are going to take points off Crewe Alexandra. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Harrogate.
Before we do go any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for us. We are in for 100 likes on today's video. And don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're now on the road to 11,000 subscribers, and get your thoughts down in the comment section down below. How do you think your team will get on this weekend? Let's move on then to Grimsby Town versus Bromley FC. Again, two sides who have had similar starts to the season so far. Grimsby sit just above the relegation zone in 21st at the moment. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They've only won 2 league games all season so far, compared to Bromley, who had a really good start to the season, but they've now only picked up 1 point from their last possible 12. They are slowly sliding down that table and currently occupy at 15th place. I don't see this one being a brilliant game for the neutral, so I'm going with a 1-1 draw. Let's see what Frank thinks.
Grimsby versus Bromley next up at Blundell Park. Bromley were thumped by Notts County at the weekend after a pretty early 2-0 lead in their favour. They go to Blundell Park at the weekend. It's not an easy place to go to when you've just come off the back of a loss. Bradford City have not had their fair share of good experiences away from home there, and newcomers Bromley, I don't think it's going to be any different for them. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Grimsby Town. They've got some fantastic players. Their attack at the moment seems to be doing the job, and I think they are in a bit of a false position right now as they sit just above the relegation zone. I think it's going to be 3 points for Grimsby from home.
MK Dons versus Doncaster Rovers. Obviously MK recently parting company with Mike Williamson. He has moved to Carlisle for around £200,000 in terms of compensation. It sounds like this has been a good move for all parties. I'm not so sure if that will work out at Carlisle United. Make sure to go check out my full thoughts on that managerial move over on my second channel, More SHD. The link is down in the description down below, or just go and search it up. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers over there. But Doncaster, they've actually have had a really good start to the season. They sit up in 6th. They've won 3 of their last 4 as well. They've scored 10 goals so far this season. I actually am going to back MK Dons though. I'm going with kind of the reverse of what the bookies probably think, judging by the two teams' positions in the table at this moment in time. I'm backing MK though at home. They're very solid at home. I'm going with a 2-1 win to the managerless side. Let's see if Frank agrees.
MK Dons have just obviously parted company with their manager Mike Williamson as he heads to Carlisle for a pretty hefty compensation package at this level. MK Dons have had a torrid start. They were tipped by nearly everyone in the industry to win the league and to walk it and to go straight up, but it's not been the case. Dean Lewington, their longest serving player, takes charge this weekend against high-flying Doncaster Rovers. They obviously lost to Harrogate, but they are on an unbelievable run at the moment, to say the least. They've had a fantastic start. They've got the top scorer in the side. Billy Sharp's doing absolutely brilliant, alongside that as well. They've been just ridiculous. Doncaster probably one of my favourites to go up now alongside Notts County and etc, etc. Doncaster are going to blow MK Dons out of the water for me. I think there's clearly some instability at MK Dons, and until they get the right manager in, I don't think they'll be able to get it in before the deadline, whenever that will be. There's some rumours flying around about Scott Lindsay going back to MK Dons, but they need saving, but I don't think it's going to be this weekend. Doncaster is a brilliant side, and I don't think they're going to be able to pick up any points. I'm going to go with a 4-1 win for Doncaster.
The biggest game of this weekend, without a doubt, is Notts County versus Gillingham FC. First versus second in an early top of the table clash. Notts have got 14 points out of their first possible 18. Gillingham have got 13 out of their first possible 18 points as well. That was some very just quick but poor maths also at the same time, and I actually see this one finishing in a home win. Gillingham, while they've only conceded 2 goals so far this season, Notts have scored 14, so I'm going to back the home side for a 2-1 win. I don't think there'll be many goals in this one, but I think Stuart Maynard's side will have enough to get over the line. Let's see what Frank thinks.
The next one's probably the most hardest one to predict, possibly of the season, but definitely of the game week. First place Notts County take on, second place Gillingham. What a fantastic advert for League 2 football that is. Gillingham have been brilliant this season. They took points off Doncaster, coming off the back of a 3-0 win over at Tranmere Rovers, who have got some really good attacking displays. Notts County were absolutely brilliant last campaign, but they're defensively way too many goals. They seem to have fixed this problem with the signings of Jacob Badeau, Matthew Platt, Lewis Macari, all coming in. They've been brilliant additions. Evidently, they sit top of the league. They've got some unbelievable attacking quality as well. Jody Jones, for example. Alessandro Jatta's got 5 games, 4 goals, 2 assists in all comps this season. And Danny Crowley, who was absolutely unplayable last year. Dave McGoldrick also leading the line alongside Alessandro Jatta. They've got some fantastic options off the bench. Nick Saraula, Giovanni Brown's just arrived on loan as well. They've got quality in, and they've been hit for injuries recently. Obviously, Gillingham are also without Ethan Coleman this weekend due to suspension. Both have got a little bit of injuries here and there, but I think Notts County are going to take the points. They're a side that are simply too good to be beat at the moment. They are the only side in the league right now that sit unbeaten. I'm going to go with a 3-2 win for Notts County.
Salford City versus Walsall FC. Salford have had a decent recent run of form, in all honesty. They picked up 8 points out of their last possible 12, and they've only played the 5 matches so far this season. If they win their game in hand, they would technically move up into the playoff places. Compared to Walsall, they do occupy a playoff space at this moment in time. They sit 4th in the table, just 2 points off of top of the league. They have been a little bit inconsistent though over their last couple of matches. It has been very much win, loss, win, loss, win. But I'm going to back the Saddlers for back-to-back wins for, I think, the first time this season. I could be wrong, or they might have won their first. No, they had a decent run at the start of the season. So back-to-back wins for the first time in 4 or 5 matches, something like that. Obviously not including the cup competitions. I'm going 2-1 to Matt Sadler's side. Let's see what Frank thinks.
Salford against Walsall is up next. Walsall obviously coming off the back, of a 2-1 win over my team, Bradford City. Salford recruited pretty well over the summer, got some high pedigree players in, as they do with that kind of budget you see. They currently sit mid-table right now, another team that have only played 5 games this campaign so far. They're coming off the back of a win, as are Walsall, but Walsall arguably had the better start. They're just sitting outside the automatic places at the moment. Salford, like I said, I've got some good attacking quality in there, but Walsall have been a brilliant side this season. They love to play out from the back, and it's clearly working in their favour at the moment. Walsall, I think, are going to take the points as well. It's going to be a narrow 1-0 victory for Walsall.
Swindon Town versus Carlisle United is up next then. Swindon currently occupy 18th in the table, but they have picked up 4 points from their last possible 2 matches. They have only won 1 game so far this season, though. A little bit of a frustrating start to the campaign for them. Carlisle sit just above the relegation zone. They've lost lost their last 4 league games and have lost 5 out of 6 so far this season. They've conceded 14 goals already. They have the joint worst goal difference in the league. It's been a horrible start to the season for the Blues, but I'm actually going to see that run continue in terms of my prediction. I'm back in Swindon at 4-2 win. I'm going to go with Dan Butterworth to get one of the goals as well against his former employees. Let's see what Frank thinks.
And from, you know, a game like Gillingham to Notts County, we take on to Carlisle versus Swindon, 2 sides that have only won once this season. They are just terrible. Obviously, Carlisle have just appointed them and the new manager, Mike Williams, from MK Dons after the departure of Paul Simpson. Swindon Town only won their first game at the weekend. They've been poor. Grimsby have been poor. They've shipped 14 goals, Carlisle, whereas Swindon have only shifted 8. So there's a little bit of difference there. Swindon obviously keeping it a little bit tight at the back. They've drawn 3 times this season, which just goes to show they cannot score goals right now. Carlisle doing pretty well. Charlie White finally among the goals for Carlisle, and I think they're going to get that new manager boost. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Carlisle.
And the Monday kickoff then is the Fylde Coast derby, is that correct? It's that sort of way anyway. Fleetwood Town versus Morecambe FC. Fleetwood have obviously had a pretty solid start to the season. They sit up in 12th, having only played the 5 games so far this season. They have picked up 8 points from them so far, which is, like I say, pretty steady away. Morecambe, obviously bottom of the table, finally scored their first goal and picked up their first points of the season against Colchester, drawing 3-3. They were 3-1 down with 10 minutes to go. They managed to pull it back with 10 men to pull a result out of the bag, and obviously very frustrating for Colchester. But Morecambe, I unfortunately can't see getting anything here. Potentially a 0-0 draw, but that's the best case scenario I think for the Shrimps. I'm actually going to back Fleetwood though for a 2-0 win. And for the final time in today's video, let's see what Frank thinks.
And last but not least, we have the Seaside derby, if you like, Fleetwood versus Morecambe. That's a Monday night kickoff, should I say. Morecambe, they've been absolutely horrendous. They've scored 3 goals all season in a 3-0 draw at Colchester. They'd failed to score in their games before that, haven't won a single game, drawn 1 and lost the rest. They've been absolutely torrid this season. Derek Adams still somehow the manager, but you feel that if they lose on Monday night, you know, he could quite easily be the part in the club. I think everyone predicted Morecambe to go down. They've not recruited well enough. They've recruited, you know, a lot of numbers this season, but there's been a real lack of quality. They've recruited from the lower leagues. A bit similar to Bromley, they've kind of recruited in that lower league niche, and it's just clearly not working for Morecambe. The squad's not gelling together. They've got a lot of short-term deals, no real future ahead of them. Fleetwood Town not doing too bad at the moment. 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. They've just come down from League One. They'll be looking to go back up, and they're not off to a terrible start at all. But Morecambe, this is simply a task too big for them in this division. So the final game of Game Week 7, I think Fleetwood will win by a 1-0. That is the end of my Game Week 7 predictions. Good luck to everyone who's got a team in League 2 this week, and I hope you can all bring home the 3 points. Although it's not possible, I hope you all get the results that you're wanting. Thank you, Sam, for letting me on once again, and have a good rest of your weekend. Up the chickens.
And there we have it then. There are our Game Week 7 at League 2 with score predictions. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you once again to Frank for stepping in at the last minute. That is massively appreciated. I'm trying to get different content creators in, but if people say they're going to come on and then just ignore me for days on end, then there's not really much that I can do. But thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I wish your team all the very best for this weekend, unless you're AFC Wimbledon, of course.